There is only one correct outcome for the biggest match at WrestlePalooza, and if WWE gets this wrong, they risk completely ruining the single best comeback story that we've seen in years. The wrestling world is still buzzing from the earth-shattering return of AJ Lee. It was a moment that many of us thought we would never see again. In typical WWE fashion, they haven't wasted a single second, immediately booking a dream match of epic proportions at the WrestlePalooza PLE. But with great matches come great responsibility, and today I'm here to tell you why WWE has backed themselves in a corner where there is only one acceptable finish to this match, and why they absolutely must do the right thing with AJ Lee or else. Now let's first recap the absolute whirlwind of this past week. On the September 5th episode of SmackDown, after a move then more than 10 years in the making, it's been 10 years since we've seen AJ Lee in a ring. She made her shocking return. The pop from the crowd was deafening. She came out to defend the honor of her husband, CM Punk, by confronting and attacking the women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch, who had been tangled up in a feud with Punk via her own husband, World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins, and it was absolutely perfect. Then, just 3 days later, on the September 8th episode of Monday Night Raw, it was made official. The match that was once pure fantasy is now a reality. AJ Lee and CM Punk will team up to take on Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins in a mixed tag team match at WrestlePalooza. This is a legit stadium-level main event, a clash of two different eras in a battle between two of wrestling's most prominent, powerful couples. The hype is absolutely through the roof, and it rightfully should be. But this is where the booking becomes absolutely critical. I'm telling you right now, WWE, under any and all circumstances, must have AJ Lee win this match. There is no other acceptable outcome, and here's why. First and foremost, this comeback story demands it. A return is only as triumphant as its hero, and as its hero wins. AJ Lee has been gone for a decade. She's a beloved figure who inspired an entire generation of wrestlers. To have her come back, get this incredible emotional reaction from fans, and then immediately lose her first match back would be just deflating, anticlimactic booking imaginable. It would be watching a superhero movie where the superhero comes out of retirement for one last fight and gets knocked out in the first round. What's the point? It would completely kill the magic of her return in a single night. Let's look at the history here. The last time that we saw AJ Lee wrestle was at WrestleMania 31, where she and Paige defeated the Bella Twins. Then she worked a match on Monday Night Raw, so my apologies. But still, she went out a winner on the grandest stage of them all, basically, because the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania is absolutely epic. There's a powerful narrative in her symmetry and having her return as a winner. It was flawless. It continues her legacy, showing that even after 10 years, AJ Lee hasn't missed a beat. Now, this brings me to the or else part of the video title. Or else what? Or else you'll immediately damage the credibility of your legendary returning star. Look, AJ Lee needs to be presented as being on the same level as the current top women in the company. And I'm looking at Becky Lynch. If AJ loses her first match back, it instantly frames her as a nostalgic act. It sends a message that she's a star from a bygone era who just simply can't hang with the top talent of today. A win, however, establishes her as a legitimate top-tier threat right out of the gate and opens the door for countless exciting future matchups. And let's be perfectly honest, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins can afford to take a loss here. They're bulletproof. They're established main event stars whose credibility will not be harmed by the slightest when they lose this match, or if they lose this match. In fact, a loss will only make their characters more angry, more obsessed, and it will give this feud the fuel that it needs to continue. I mean, heck, they still got to do the singles matches with the women and the men. The babyfaces, AJ Lee and Punk, have all the momentum to lose. The heels have nothing to lose and everything to gain from being even more infuriated. It's much more easier to protect heels than it is babyfaces because heels can get their heat back via promos or attacks, or outrage for that matter. So the choice for WWE is simple. Do you give the fans the massive feel-good moment of seeing a returning legend get her hand raised, protecting her aura and setting up future things for the future? Or do you sacrifice all of that for a shock moment that ultimately cools off one of the hottest acts that you have? For me, the answer is clear. This story is going right there. The booking is simple. The returning heroes win. Let the crowd go home happy. Let the magic of AJ Lee's return continue. Because if you want to have Becky go over AJ, if you want it to matter, it's not this mixed tag team match. Okay? The reason AJ needs this win in her return match is to set the tone. That she's not a nostalgic act, that this is a AJ Lee 2.0, this is another run, which it is. She signed a multi-year contract. This is not a one-off, so AJ Lee is to be around. You need her to win this match. And then once you have her win this match, then when you go and you book the singles match, the women's intercontinental title match between AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, that's when you have Becky go over. That's when you have her get her comeuppance and show, hey, she is a legit star. She is what she says she is, which is the women's GOAT, which I so agree with. So that's the way I'm booking this. But WWE cannot have AJ Lee lose this match. And especially, it's one thing to go, okay, well, we're going to beat this person, and they're going to come back and they're going to win the rematch. No. Usually, if a babyface is going over, they go over in the first match, right? That's usually how it goes. Or then they, repeat it several months later, several weeks later, whatever the case may be. But usually you don't beat a babyface and then you run it back, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, and then have them win. That's usually not how it goes. And I'm very curious. So if I'm WWE, the way that I'm booking this show, and this is going to be interesting, and it will kind of give you a layout of how they're going with this. If I'm WWE, I have two options with this main event of WrestlePalooza. I can book this mixed tag team match, and I could also book it as Brock versus Cena. The problem with this is I think Brock needs to win this match against Cena. He's going to be sticking around. Cena isn't. But I could also see them wanting Cena to go over. So you have two possibilities. You could have Brock and Cena open the show and Brock go over. You have actually a few different options. So you could have Brock go over Cena in the opener. You could have Cena go over Lesnar in the opener. You could have Cena go over Lesnar in the main event, send the crowd home happy. Or you could do AJ. This is my choice. You have AJ Lee, Punk go over Rollins and Becky in the main event, send the crowd home happy, and that's a bigger draw. Because I feel like AJ Lee's return and her return match is way bigger than a John Cena Brock Lesnar match, even though I understand that's the last match between them. I understand John Cena's on his retirement tour. But I just think, based off of my numbers and Google and social media and everything, this AJ Lee thing is a massive, massive ordeal. So you got to treat it as a massive deal, and you go with the biggest attraction possible, which is this as your main event.